and gets taught, so put clown around, catch a helmet in a minute on a New York playground. The Big Apple's what they call it for short, and basketball is our sport. We play for keeps and never settle for short. So bring your game when you come to my town. We snatch a crowd, you get embarrassed on the court after you shook to the ground. You get respected when you prove to get down. So say the joke for the clowns, and NYC we known to go a few rounds. This is a city where you're forced to go hard. You'll get booed out of Dodge and shown the door being the weakest on squads. Rucker Park and summer nights they stay live. Brothers play for the pride and bragging rights on who's the king of NY. So grab the pill and prepare to go hard. Pick your 12-man squad. Orange and blue better believe we go hard. This for my city, New York, New York City where it's gritty. Yeah. For my city, never pretty. New York City, sing it with me. Yeah. For my city, New York City where it's gritty. NYC, for my city, never pretty. Yeah. New York City, sing it with me. New York City, sing it with me. Bars and Hoops Radio, Knicks Talk Nation, Steals the Great, Hardwell, J. Remy, Monday, fellas, back on the check-in, man. A lot to talk about. Season is inching a bit closer, but it's football season now. But we're going to talk this good old Knicks talk, man. But, fellas, before we get into it, man, how was your weekend, man, leading into today, man? You know what I'm saying?
Mine was good. Can't complain. You know, happy to be here. Another great Monday. It was good, Rem. How was your weekend?
Remy, what's good?
Yo, what's good, my guys?
What's good, Rem?
What's going on?
Everything was good, man. I can't complain, man. I had a good weekend, productive Saturday. My, first Sunday of Sunday football yesterday. So I got to, spend the day with my son doing our Sunday football thing. And, yeah, I can't complain, bro. I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful. I wouldn't change a damn thing.
That's what's up, man. Shout out to all the fathers out there being dads, you know what I'm saying, doing dad things with their kids, you know what I mean? But like Rem, you did say my weekend was terrible, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. After that shellacking the Giants took yesterday, man, I'm pretty pissed off because it looks like another sad season.
I mean, I was tight over that too, but at the same time, bro, Daniel Jones is not a number 6 overall pick. He's get point guards from Duke, not quarterbacks, bro. Like,
shout out to Mike Ray.
They got a good squad. I like this squad, and I think Saquon, week 4, week 5, he'll be back to normal, and they got some good weapons, and their defense is good. But at the end of the day, Daniel Jones, he's a Duke quarterback, bro. He's a Duke quarterback.
Yeah, he is a Duke quarterback. Duke only produces good basketball players.
Yeah, point guards, not quarterbacks, bro.
Right? That's a fact. Would you look like he was going to say something, Hardwell?
Nah, I seen the game. Like I'm a Giants fan as well. So
God,
it sticks out like a sore thumb. What's going on?
God, man.
But it got to go through some things for some good things to happen, because they betting on that dude like that, so he ain't doing nothing, and then they gonna have to make some other moves, just like what happened with the Eagles. And they was forcing that other situation not to happen, and they finally had to give up. So that's what it be, man. They be forcing these kids in the position, and they ain't good.
Yeah.
And then they show they ain't do it, and then they got to put the right kid. We need a better quarterback, like y'all said.
Oh, it's like a point guard in the NBA. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today, man. So, basketball season, I can't wait for it to start, man. We got a lot to talk about, man. We definitely, every Monday, 10 to 11, Knicks Talk Nation Radio. Matter of fact, let me change the skin. I just realized I do so many shows. Sometimes I forget to do the simple things. There we go. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? The number to call in is 516-206-0711.
Yeah, this one is brighter.
You know what I'm saying? Much brighter. You know what I'm saying? Blue. Orange and blue. We rock the colors with pride. Let's take it back to Walt Clyde and Earl of Pearl going to work on you guys. Woo! I'll hit them with the bars every now and then. You know what I'm saying? Word. But, I wanted to touch on something today, man. I seen a lot of these videos surfacing. Julius Randle, man, our alpha. They keep showing them, putting in work in the off season. But I'm just seeing the same old same with him, man. And y'all know what I say. I don't see him working on none of his weaknesses. And if y'all don't know what video I'm talking about, they just showed a recent video of him and Melo going to work in Lifetime Fitness in Manhattan, where they all go.
I saw that. They was in the city, right?
Is his left hand tied up?
No.
No, his left hand ain't tied up. All I'm seeing is all this dancing with the ball, boogieing. I'm like, yo, where's the low post game? Where's then them open racks? You know you're gonna kill. So why don't you work on your weakness during those games? You know what I'm saying? Like work on something that can help your game get better during those open rec sessions. Because I ain't gonna lie, all the NBA players be looking tough in those workouts. I'm gonna keep it a buck. What's
Shit,
the
I,
dude from
I, look,
Memphis?
I look tough in those
I
workouts.
look- yeah, I'm telling you. They had the dude that used to play for the Spurs that played for the Grizzlies. He was looking good. I'm like, oh no, nah, this is not good. With the big head. No. The kid with the big head, man. Light skinned kid with the curly afro. He played for the Spurs. He plays for Memphis now, but he was even in there putting work.
He's more
You know
of
what I mean?
he's more of a defensive player. That kid.
Who's that?
The kid you talking about that was on the Spurs that went to Memphis. He's more of a defensive player.
Yeah.
But in those recs, in those type of runs, right?
Uh-huh.
The way it's judged is just like when those dudes get paid to play basketball. So what they doing in the open rec, that's how it's really supposed to be. Because there's no pressure there. You know what I'm saying? They really know how to play in pressured moments with a whole bunch of people yelling and stuff like that. That's why they said when this season came back, last season came back with the fans, it messed a lot of people wasn't used to that. And I think that's true. Because when they was playing in this series, basketball without the fans, man, it's a big difference.
It is. And you can see that with the football games because it's looking like a lot of these guys ain't really ready to play under that pressure anymore. You know what I mean? They got used to playing without people around them. And you're right. You're right. For real. But I just was like, that was the main thing that stuck out to me. It's like, all right, I see the same old saying. He danced with the ball. Like you said, he ain't have his left hand tied up. Using his left boogieing, fall away jumpers. I'm like, man, we need a low post presence in the during the season because when they take away your outside game, he was like a fish out of water after that. And I don't see him like really trying to address that. So I hope that, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm being too hard on him, but I just don't see him working on his game to come back, improve this season. And I always go back to Amari Stoudemire. When Stoudemire was here, after that first season, he said, yo, I'm going to work on my low post game. Let me go work with Hakeem Olajuwon in the offseason, get a post game. And he got a post game. He came back and he utilized it immediately. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. He paid Dream $25,000 a week for 4 weeks. He paid him $100,000.
What's that? Like $25 to equivalent to us?
That shit's in our ashtray. Not even in my ashtray.
You know what I mean? Like, so you got to put in the pain. You got to spend some money. You know what I mean? And I think that's what I'm not seeing. You know what I mean? I'm worried because a lot is riding on him this season. You know what I mean? A lot is riding on him. He has to prove something because it looks like he's not the star after that playoff series. It doesn't look like he's a star to carry this team. So if I was him, go ahead, Harwell.
I think I say this a lot on our shows that like we as I don't know if it's Knicks fans or just fans in general, like we act like we have amnesia sometime and we change our mind too quick. Meaning like when I said it last show, if you take away his last season, not to take away his credit, but I'm saying that it's like just like when you build your credit up, you don't build it that fast. And anything, it doesn't build that fast. And I don't try to take shots at him or be rude because he may watch the show one day. That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying that, he didn't put in enough work to be. I don't even want to say it that way. He'd never been in the playoffs. To be talked about with guys that's been in the playoffs. Now, I said it last show as well. I want to keep giving him a better grade as he goes on. So I'm looking forward for him to do good next season. You know what I mean? My prediction is it's just going to be hard. I'm not predicting he's going to have a bad season. I wouldn't do that to him. But my point in what I started with was that us as fans and just, we tend to like go with stuff too fast. It's like he didn't put in enough to prove us what we trying to give him. And there's other players that did that already, and they solidified in that spot. Like when people compare him to, like, I don't know if we did, but like a Bill or somebody on the team who really doesn't win. You can't do that. This man could go out. Bill been doing this longer than him, right?
Salute the Shy Legacy. We see you, champ.
I'm just saying, I just thought of any name off the top of my head, honestly, because people compare him to too many people. And I think that's not fair because he didn't put in enough work. He has to put in more work as far as making it to the playoffs, unless it's another exact player like him that never carried his team to the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like LeBron or good players in the league that we know that consistently do that already.
Well, and you got to remember too, well, like, before I say this, I agree 150% with what you just said. But we also have to remember that it's not, and this is what I worry about a lot with players, especially in New York City, is that we see them in the gym, and not only is he in the gym training and not working on the things that we as fans and we as, I consider us high level fans as far as analysis of the game is concerned, right? That's what I consider us, at least. And us as fans and us as high level fans analyzing the game, not only do we not see him working on the things that are screaming to us that he needs to work on, but the thing that really worries me about players, especially in New York, and players like Julius Randle, and this new era of these players being coddled and spoiled and protected growing up, is up here, the mental capacity. And them having that mental strength and that mental stamina to keep up with not only being in the NBA, but being a star in the NBA and being on the New York Knicks and a star on the New York Knicks. So, like, all those different elements come into play when it's like, yo, yeah, you know what? I'm not too crazy about you just doing the same old usual in the gym, working on your game. You're just looks like you're trying to get better at the things you already do well instead of trying to get better at the things that you need work on. But I'm also worried about what's going on up here in your head and how you're able to stay mentally healthy in the NBA, on the New York Knicks, and being what we're expecting him to be, which is an all-star on the New York Knicks.
That's a fact.
What really worries me about someone like Randle and play his age.
Now, Rem, look, I give him credit for that. Now, let me tell you why. He looks like, now he should be, because he's been in the league for a little while, but he looks like a good leader, right? Let's give him credit for what he deserves credit for.
Yes. Let's go.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like, he was most improved player, so that speaks for itself. You know what I mean? He's an all-star first time playoffs. You see what I mean? He's going in the right direction. But to what I'm saying is the people we trying to compare him with already did those things. Now it's all right to catch up or whatever. But what we comparing is experience, right?
Yes.
That's why he couldn't carry a team further than what he did. You have to go through something enough to know how to go further in it.
That's a fact.
We lost to a team that didn't have that much experience. Neither. So let's dissect that. So what really happened? They had a better team than us. And we admitted that on another show.
Yep.
Right? Okay.
Yep.
So let's call it what it is. He is right now trying to be a Batman.
Yep.
He still has a chance to pull it off. If he does, then we're not gonna say, yo, he did it late or anything. A lot of players did that. What you think about that, Stills?
Nah, I agree 100%. I agree 100%. But heavy is the head that wears the crown. You're playing in New York, and we know, and we've had our share of guys that just came here, got the bag, and just became lax, and then they ended up just fizzling out, and we ended up getting nothing for the money that we spent on them. So he wanted to stay here. He took less money, you know what I mean, to stay here. He took it upon himself to be the leader that he wanted to be. He elevated his game. Like you said, he was a first-time All-Star.
Credit
he made NBA All-Second Team, most improved player. He did a lot, and he got paid according to that. So, as a fan, we're expecting him to go to the next level because from here up, it's up. It has to be up. It can't be same level, can't be fizzling out. He has to go nowhere but up. I'm not expecting nothing less than him to be an all-star again, NBA second team again. And I'm just looking at him to improve his game because, again, we needed him to improve his game because he showed in the playoffs that when you take away his strong suits, he couldn't adjust. And we can't have that from our alpha player. Like, our star player has to be able to adjust to what the defense is doing to him and change his game to help elevate the team to victory. So that's all I'm saying in regards to, like, getting on him, because at the end of the day, I like him. He's been the best player that we've had since Carmelo Anthony, hands down.
And you're right. And the thing I get worried about with that Steelers is that, we say like there's no other place to go but up, but it's a very, very big realistic possibility that he goes the opposite direction. I don't want him to. I want him to take that next level step up. I'm just saying, if we don't see him working physically on the things we know he needs to work on, then that makes me also question where is his mental strength, and like it makes me question that, like, does he have the mental makeup to be that star we need him to be on the Knicks? Because, like Will said, most improved player, all-star, first time in the playoffs. Those are huge accomplishments in the NBA, let alone on the New York Knicks. Those are big accomplishments. But is he able to take that next notch? Is he able to take that next step to the next level, physically and mentally? That's what I'm worried about.
Yep. And the number to call in is 516-206-0711 if you want to chime in on the topic of discussion. So now I'll take it a step further. So instead of holding him accountable, is it safe to say that Coach Tibbs should also be held accountable if Julius isn't pushed to work on his game to get better? If he didn't give him a chalkboard full of stuff to work on before he came back to the season? Because he challenged him to get in shape when he first came. But did he challenge him to work on things, his weaknesses?
Tibbs is so much of a, like, I mean, we talked about this too with the offense. Should he be on the offense and certain stuff? But, we could talk about that later. But the main thing is this. If you are a professional, and you want to be an all-star and certain stuff, that should be your responsibility, I think, because he was taught by Kobe Bryant, rest in peace to the Mamba. But they say he worked out with the Mamba, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then those things, you shouldn't need the coach you should be watching film. You should be already dribbling with your left hand behind your back. I train, so I already know he should be shooting with the right hand, getting used to doing everything with that right hand, because good ball players could go with both hands.
Exactly.
That's the problem. Okay, if he hear ESPN or whoever talking about what he not doing right, you got to look at that. You got to pay attention to that as well yourself, because he's old enough to know that I got to work on that. I got to work on this. I got to work on that.
That's a fact.
My last point I want to make about that is, right, the team looks like it's being designed knowing he can't carry that type of weight. So the power that they're adding is to be fully used. You feel me? Fournier, all those points. That means that his points is going to decline. He's going to have to accept that. I said that last show, because he can't average the amount of points that we're going to need. And it's not going to be all of them scoring all of those points. We're not going to score 130 points a game. Let's be realistic. Okay? Yeah, it will switch around to this player having a good night or that player having a good night. But mainly Julius Randle better know, pass that ball. When that man is open, get like LeBron do. Same thing. So then now, what that does is that keeps the defense not knowing what you're going to do. See, when you keep on shooting that rock, chucking, they know you're going to shoot again.
That's a fact.
You ain't passing to the open man. Okay, last year, like I said, Tibbs played what he had. Cool. We ain't have a better team. Now we can't say that. Julius passed that ball. It should work out better for us. Don't try to carry the weight by yourself.
Not only that, but you got a all-star now and a most improved player and a playoff team who the star on the team is now put on more tape for the defensive schemes of the other NBA teams. which has which has caught up to him, almost like similar like they did Giannis, and Giannis had to develop his game and elevate his game to different levels. But with someone like Randle, what they're gonna do? They're gonna shut down the left side of the court. They're gonna give him the whole right side. They're gonna either say either pass,
but so much.
Yeah, either pass or beat us with your right hand. They're gonna give him those two options. They're not gonna give him the left. They're gonna say either pass or beat us with your right hands, and they're gonna live or die with those results.
But really, I got a good one for you though, real quick. You see how you brought up a Giannis? Giannis is who he is, and how when I brought up LeBron saying like those greats, when I said that he trying to get there. So if he could go to that bucket, like how when you see Giannis go to that bucket, even though Giannis is taller than him, I see Julius Randle going hard, but Giannis is one of the type of players I look at that just goes hard. I could just see he works out on everything. He does everything, bro. Like his 3-point ain't there fully like a KD or one of them three, but he shoot the ball and you can't stop him. You know what I'm saying? So you name somebody like that, and I think Randle has to have that type of drive. And one thing good about Giannis, if you open, he passes the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You see? That's what makes him a very good player, because you don't know if he's gonna pass or shoot. You can't just you can't just double team and leave that guy open.
Shout out to Project Nerd. We see you. Shout out to Shy Leggy. You said Randall's been passing, though he was the team leader in assists, and that's a fact. So that leads me into my next point. Last year, he averaged 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists. So y'all think that his numbers are going to fall off from that? Like it's going to drop to less than that?
Oh, they have to.
24 a game?
With the players they have, just like Will just said, with the players they have on the team, they have to. They're going to be relying, like he just said, seems like they built the team knowing that he is not going to have the season he had last year. Like the numbers are going to have to decline. They're going to have to. He's going to be. They're building the team for him to pass the ball more. So I think his assists might go up and his rebounds might stay the same, but his points per game I think are going to take a 4 to 6 point drop per game, somewhere in that area.
We'll see. Salute to Robert Paul. For real, we see you. Now, let's have a little fun with it, man. His assist is probably going to be the only thing to go up. That's a fact. And Shaw Legacy agreed with you. So I want to have a little fun with it, man. So we're going to take it back to the last 30 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
This sounds like fun already.
No. We talking about all the additions that they had and everything that they had, what they didn't have, and we always argued about trades and players that came here past their prime. So I just want to take it back a little bit, man, by starting off like, who was the best point guard that we've had in the last 30 years? The best point guard that we had in the last 30 years.
Best point guard.
And that's going back to at least 1991.
Does time matter?
Marbury.
Marbury.
That's my era. That's why I played. I grew up playing, Marbury, so I give it to him.
That's a
or
fact.
Rod Strickland. Or you said point guards. He ain't got to be a shooter. Back in the days, if you saying back in the days, I could say Mark Jackson, because Mark Jackson was a real point guard.
All right, so let's take it back to the last 40 years then. So you say Mark Jackson,
Ron Harper,
Derek Harper.
I mean, my bad. Derek Harper, tough, Knick point.
Oh no.
I ain't pick them though. I just named a few.
Okay, yeah.
Let me pick for that era. What year you? I give you a great.
All right, so we can go back to at least 86. That's when Mark Jackson came in.
Mark Jackson, okay. Then we know who we had, so it's like who you really like, really, because we know who we had. Marbury still was. Ross Strickland was one, and Mark Jackson and Marbury's my top 3 in all those around those years. And I don't want to leave out Jamal Crawford, even though he was caught in position.
He wasn't a point guard. He definitely he wasn't a point guard, but okay. I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I agree that it was Marbury and Marbury hands down. And the reason why I bring that up is because, again, as New Yorkers and New York fans, we looked the gift horse in the mouth and ran him out of town, kid. They ran him out of town in the name of saying that Chris Duhon was the better fit at point guard for us at that time. That's the things that the Knicks organization used to do. And a lot of fans turned on Marbury. Steph came here, they traded for him at the time. I remember that deal. When he came here, he was making $89 million. That's when $89 million was considered a lot in the NBA. They traded a couple of pieces to get him because at the time, I think it was the year before that, he got on our backcourt. He was basically saying that Chris Childs and Charlie Ward was both trash. You know what I mean? And then they ended up trading for him the next year, and they took on Penny Hardaway's contract, and that's what kind of put us in like a bind as far as like not having draft picks and, you know what I mean, having to scratch and scrounge our way through with scraps with only one player. It started with the Marbury deal, and people killed Isaiah for it, but that was like the best thing to ever happen to us because Steph led us to the playoffs that first season that he came. And we lost to the Nets. I think we got swept by the Nets, if I'm not mistaken. That was when the Nets made it to the NBA Finals. That
was the finals year. They swept them.
Yeah, they swept the Knicks, and they was triple teaming Marbury. We had Tim Thomas. We had a bunch of players, Nazi Muhammad. We had a lot of guys that year, but we couldn't get over the hump. So I agree, Hardwell. Steph is definitely the best point guard that we had since. Guy, remember, you look like you disagree.
One of my right-hand men, my right-hand man says it's a toss-up between Nate Robinson and Jeremy Lin.
What? Oh, wow. Linsanity.
We got to throw Kemba in there now, too, though, right?
Who?
We got to throw Kemba Walker in there now. Because Kemba been an all-star. That's another thing. That's
why I said this time really mattered because I felt like I don't know. Steph, you can't. How can you go against Steph, Mark Jackson? Like, how can you not say they're not right there? You know, I wish we would have had, a player like a Chauncey a little earlier. Because I feel like he would have been like just a perfect New York Knick if we would have got him a little sooner.
They had kids too.
Then Jason Kidd.
Oh, you're right.
You know, that was right around like the Raymond Felton time. You know what I'm saying? Like when we really Masuda. You know what I'm saying? But
they said that was an all-star. I mean, that was that team was him and Stoudemire. They were supposed to do something. That's what Melo said in that interview.
Oh, Raymond Felton?
That's what he said. He said Raymond Felton and Stoudemire was getting busy. Because they was kind of that year.
They was. Because everybody fell in love with this team. Yo, why we trading all of them for Melo? Why? Niggas up here crying, getting rid of Raymond Felton and all these bums for Melo.
They was bums.
Yeah, I dump the whole team. Dump everybody but Stat. That was my mentality.
Shout out to Tricky Nicky.
Get rid of all of them. But I think, I think Steph would have to be Steph and Mark.
Hands down, he was the most talented point guard that we've ever had. More than Mark Jackson. Don't get me wrong. Mark Jackson was tough.
I'm still having nightmares.
You know why I say Mark? See, back in the days, we couldn't. It wasn't allowed for us to do all of that. It really wasn't even allowed for a point guard to shoot a lot. So you got to know that when you go back and you say pick a player, right? You have to know that the rules of the point guard, that wasn't allowed. You have players like Penny Hardaway, Allen Iverson, certain point guards that really could score the ball.
Yes.
They changed the game.
Yes.
Your job was to come down and call the play and get the ball to the person that was supposed to. And most of the time, it was the big man in the post. Yeah. So you know how I know this, and I can really relate to it. I grew up playing against Marbury. I played against Marbury. I'm gonna tell you a story. When I played against Marbury,
we got a caller. We got a caller.
That's probably Walt Frazier.
That's right, Walt Frazier. Bars on Who Radio, Knicks Talk Nation Radio. Who's this?
Mike Ray.
Mike Ray, what's happening, champ?
What's good, family?
You tell
me. To the brothers.
What's good?
Mike Ray.
Pace. You know I had to chime in on this topic.
Let's go.
Best point. Okay, I got a few years on you, brothers.
Let's go.
So my best point guard starts with Michael Ray Richardson.
Ooh, Michael Ray Richardson was a point guard. I thought he was a shooting guard.
Michael Ray Richardson brought the rock up. Michael Ray Richardson and Gus Williams and Ray Williams.
Watch your mouth.
He was the original.
He said, watch your mouth.
Ray. He was the original Sugar Ray. Sugar Ray.
Indeed.
Yeah.
You don't get Bernard King without him.
That's a
Because
fact.
that was the trade.
Yeah,
right. So if I'm coming a little forward, I can't really put Jason Kidd or Chauncey over Steph because I mean both of them together didn't have a half a tank of gas left.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
So it has to be Steph by default.
Yes.
With no one even close.
That's a fact.
Rod Strickland.
Yeah, shout out to Robert Paul. He said when I first started watching the Knicks, Mark was on the Pacers, and I already built up the gate for him. When I found out he was a Knick, I just shook my head. Shout out to the millennials. Word.
Now listen.
Yeah.
Rod, hands down, is always going to be my favorite.
See, Rod,
because I got to see him in
Rod. Yeah, I said Rod. You can't forget. Look, you know why I go back sometime and say like people like Rod. He's somebody that the younger guys follow with the trendy moves, with the, you know what I'm saying? Yes. The game was changing around that time with the dribble packages and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't allowed unless you really know how to do it. You know how when they be like, don't shoot, good shot. So that's basically what it was when they changed the game with all the dribbling stuff, I think.
Yeah.
It's my opinion.
And Rod Strickland, well, we already know who the modern day Rod Strickland is, Kyrie Irving. You know what I mean? Wizard with the ball in his hands. You know what I mean?
Listen, got it from his godfather.
That's a fact. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
So now, flip it now. Who was the worst coach that we've had in the last 30 years?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Phil Jackson. Only when he was on ice.
He didn't coach.
Oh, he didn't coach.
He didn't want to come down to the stand. He was.
That's right. He didn't coach. My bad. I meant to say Derek Fisher.
Derek Fisher? I'm going with Mike. No D Antoni.
Nah.
You can't.
You know what? I'm probably going to go Kurt Rambis.
I said Fizz. And Mike, you said Kurt Rambis. I forgot Kurt Rambis. Hell yeah, he was terrible.
Kurt Rambis, he was an intern coach, right? He was like when somebody got fired.
He coached for like half a year. Yo,
somebody got fired.
He said Isaiah Thomas, yo, y'all not going to disrespect Zeke up here today.
Yeah, word.
I ain't going to disrespect Zeke. Honestly, I got to
know the game, man.
Jeff Hornacek. I think Jeff Hornacek. Yeah, I think Jeff Hornacek was the worst coach.
Anybody that fell under Phil Jackson's regime. That's a fact, though. Jeff Hornacek was terrible. Damn. You know what? I can't argue that. I can't argue that. It's out of Fizz, and Mike. Who else did you say?
Derek Fisher was a favorite.
Hornacek
too, yeah. But Derek Fisher was a favorite. He shouldn't have got that job. He never got another job since. Think about that. As big as our team is,
he out there messing with the players' girls.
Mark Jackson should have been got
married
that
her.
job, if you ask me.
He married her?
Yeah.
He married her.
Married Matt Barnes' wife. But he left her too.
Yeah, Matt Barnes wanted all the smoke.
Yeah, Matt Barnes drove about 80 miles.
The smoke. He drove. He got on a plane, son.
He took the plane.
They said he named his show after the beef with Derek Fisher. All the smoke.
But son was clowning him. Kwame Brown was clowning him. Kwame Brown showed the footage when Derek Fisher was taking pictures with all of them when they was on the same team, son. So he had a reason to go crazy for that.
All right, I got another one for y'all. Who was the worst free agent signing that we've had in the last 30 years?
McDice.
Wow. Antonio McDyess?
Wow.
I mean, are we counting him as a free agent signing?
Did they sign him as a
Or was
free
that a
agent?
trade?
I think that was a trade.
Yeah, that was a trade. They traded Nene. That's right.
Yes.
They traded Nene
They
for
take
him.
Nene Hilario for McDyess. That's right. The worst. Jerome James. Yeah, he was terrible. I remember him.
Curry.
Who, Eddie Curry?
Yeah, Eddie Curry. I was going to say Eddie Curry.
Yo, y'all are disrespectful. Eddie Curry?
Yeah,
He sat the bench for mad long, didn't he? Right?
Yo, Tricky Nicky said, no way, it's Amari Stoudemire. He hurt himself by punching a fire hydrant. Darko Milicic. Yes, I forgot about Darko. That's up there.
What about Joakim Noah? They gave him $72 million.
Oh, that's right. Darko was a trade. You're right.
What about Joakim Noah? Joakim Noah.
Was he a free agent? Yes.
They gave him $72 million, bro.
Damn. Yeah, there's a few of them. Damn. And a lot of them is neck and neck.
Yeah, but at least he got on the floor. Jerome James ain't even get on the floor.
That's a fact. He didn't get on the floor. He swindled us.
And Isaiah gave him a bag.
A big bag off of one series. When he had a good series, I think it was against the Spurs when he was on Seattle.
Seattle, yeah.
He was on Seattle. He killed the Spurs, and Isaiah lined up and gave him a bag, and he did nothing.
Never played.
At least Eddie Curry was an all-star with us. He gave us an all-star year. It didn't work out with him and Zach Randolph. It should have worked with those two, man. That team that Isaiah built should have been much better than what it was. That's when Larry Brown was out here trying to sabotage Isaiah, man, because Isaiah gave him some studs. If you look back at it, we had Stephon Marbury and Jamal Crawford in the backcourt. We had Eddie Curry,
Q Rich on your wing,
for real, and Zach Randolph down low. Come on, man. That team was crazy, man. Then the panel, he had Tricky Nicky asked us who was the worst draft pick since 2010. The worst draft pick since 2010, Frank Ntilikina.
Yeah, you gotta go with Frank Ntilikina.
Send him back to
hands
France.
Down.
Send him back to France.
You gotta go with Frank Ntilikina. You have to.
Yes. I think we already answered this one. Who was the worst president of basketball operations? 30 years.
My boy was sleeping at recruiting.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, Phil Jackson.
He was falling asleep.
Yo, Shy Legacy said Knox was actually the worst because Frank did.
But Knox was like number 7 or 8, bro.
That is true. Frank was
crazy.
Listen, I will say, while I will agree that Jackson was the worst, Scott Layden wasn't too far behind him.
No, he was the worst. He started all of this.
He started with the Shannon Anderson, Clarence Witherspoons on the same squad.
Clarence Witherspoon, Shandon Anderson, Travis Knight, Vin Baker,
Michael Sweetney.
He drafted Sweetney.
Vin Baker straight out the bar.
For sure.
Smelling like Maker's Mark and peanuts.
Come on. And every GM after Scott Layden has tried to clean up that mess that he made. The first one was Isaiah Thomas. And Isaiah Thomas had to do everything in his power to get talent. So he had to leverage our future to get good players in here. And that's when it all went downhill. And everybody only remember Isaiah. But that's a good point, Mike. Scott Layden was the worst.
Yeah,
he was the worst. He was the worst.
What about trade?
Oh, hey, let's get to it.
What about trade?
What was the worst trade to you in the last 30 years?
Damn, I gotta think for a second about this one.
Don't dare say Melo.
Oh, hell no. No, never.
Nah, some fans, they say we gave away some all-stars.
What?
One player.
Who was an all-star after that? You could tell by now. That's why I say after the smoke cleared, you could see who really became who. Did we give anybody away? Gallinari is all right now. Where's Chandler at? A lot of these players, we don't know where they at.
Steve Francis trade.
Oh God. That was horrible.
Wasn't Larry Hughes a trade?
Larry,
hey, hold on. Mike said it. Mike Ray said it. The McDice trade.
the McDice trade.
Yeah,
that was
McDice trade.
bad.
The McDice trade.
But Steve Francis, that was.
Yeah, that was a terrible experiment.
Oh, tricky. Nicky said trading Ewing away. I'm gonna go with that one.
Yeah, that was bad, man. That was bad.
Patrick Ewing for Glenn Rice.
But see,
Yeah.
but Ewing bought that on himself because he didn't want to take a back seat to Allen Houston. Everybody,
Nah,
around that time.
I just thought of it. The worst one, Andre Bargnani.
Andrea Bargnani, the Bargnani trade.
That was a free agent. Oh, yeah, we did trade for him.
Nah, that was a trade, bro, with Toronto.
Yeah, we did.
Trade gave up about 2 first-round picks.
And we could have had Kyle Lowry instead. And
Oh shit, you're right. Still,
and didn't take him. He says, Tricky Nicky said, Steve Francis sucked. He was the earlier version of James Harden. Wow. Mike said, no.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Just writing anything.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I gotta disagree with that one.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Stop! Don't read
He
anything.
couldn't
This guy
rein
said,
it like Harden can, but a young Stevie franchise,
Yeah, he was different.
is taking off from the dotted.
That's what I'm saying.
All the time.
That boy was nice. He said he was trash. Are you bugging? Steve Francis used to go
Francis was
crazy.
good. Yeah, Steve Francis was good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Definitely
Dude don't
good.
know what he be talking about.
It's sad where he's at now, though. When you see him, man, he in Baltimore looking bad. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah,
definitely in
yes.
Baltimore looking bad. For real. So,
Pray for him.
huh? Yeah, you gotta pray for
I
him.
feel bad for him. I pray for him. Or
Yeah,
he's
that's a
doing
fact.
drugs and shit.
That's the fact. Who's the best free agent signing that we've had?
Carmelo Anthony.
I don't know. Maybe we could say Julius Randle now.
Huh?
Melo.
Maybe we could say Julius Randle now. I mean,
Wow.
I mean, if we talking about Melo being re-signed, or are we talking straight up free agent signing?
free agent signing.
I gotta go with Randall.
Julius Randle, yeah, because Melo was a trade.
Oh, you're right. I forgot. Wow, I
Melo
just
was a
forgot about
trade.
that. You're right.
Julius Randle, and before that, I hate to say Stoudemire. Was it Stoudemire?
Yeah, I might go with that.
Was Sprewell a trade or a free agent signing?
Sprewell was
Free
a free
agent
agent.
signing.
That's so I'm gonna go with Latrell Sprewell.
Latrell Sprewell. He instantly took he bought the
Allen
city.
Houston.
Allen Houston. Ooh, him and Chris Childs came the same offseason.
Yeah,
From
I'm gonna
Detroit.
go.
The same offseason.
They got him from the Warriors. That was a trade still. Didn't they get him from Golden State?
Remember, the reason why
Allen
Sprewell was free is because he choked the living life out of
choked his
PJ
coach.
That's right.
and he got suspended.
And they brought him out, right?
Yeah, and they bought him out. And when he came back, the Knicks took a chance on him. And then we went to the finals, the
He
year
was
after?
getting busy though.
Yeah, him and Allen Houston, they coexisted together. Nobody thought that would even work.
Nope. Matter of fact, all of them worked because you were talking about a reformed Larry Johnson sliding over to the 4.
LJ.
So a lot of times they in that when they sat Kurt Thomas down and moved Kurt to the 5, it was LJ, Spree, Allen, and then whoever they let run the point. And they coexisted, even though that they were relatively small. And Larry couldn't jump out the gym no more.
That's a fact.
Oh, you know, it's another free agent. Anthony Mason. That was a free agent signing too.
Yes, he was a free agent signing. And shout out to Coach Horford, man. He came on my show 2 Fridays ago, man. He talked about his experience coaching Anthony Mason, man, before he got to the Knicks. Because everybody forgets that he was on the Nets first.
Yeah.
And he just was wilding out. He didn't understand how to adjust to NBA life. He was still on the street life stuff when he came into the league, and it didn't last. And then the Knicks took a chance with him, and then they ended up working for real. Shout out to Chicken Tricky Nick. He said Larry Johnson, the 4-point shot is a golden moment, which is true. Hasn't been one since. For real. But
I think if we're gonna say, are we doing trades yet? We have to trade yet?
What was your best trade?
Charles Oakley. No, I'm sorry. And Melo was I think the best trade, but my favorite was Charles Oakley. I just loved what Charles Oakley was as a Knick. I loved what he was as a Knick.
Oakley, man, I hate Oakley guts right now, and I hate saying that in front of everybody. I just don't like the way Charles Oakley is trying to kill the team right now, man, because he's hurting us more than he's helping us because of his little personal that he got with Dolan. I don't know.
I agree with that, but just
I tell you who else enjoyed that trade.
Who else?
Bill Cartwright.
Bill Cartwright.
Oh, yeah. He might got rings because of it.
3 rings. That's a fact. Cartwright and Ewing, the Twin Towers, they played together.
Mm-hmm.
Real.
But growing up, bro, when I was young, like seeing Charles Oakley was always one of my favorite Knicks. He was always one of my, and he only played for us like 5 or 6 years. I think it wasn't a long time.
Nah, because then he got traded to Toronto.
Toronto, yeah. But still, the Melo trade. I remember when I was. I remember watching the Twitter feeds of him coming out at a LaGuardia airport. I remember watching him get suited up, watching him and Chauncey get introduced, watching the starting lineup, like I told you, get announced. Like Melo in my heart is still the best Knicks trade.
Will just mentioned that Marbury trade.
Yeah, I'll take Marbury trade.
That was a good one.
Because we haven't had a guard in a long time like that. That's
I think he got bought out. Didn't he get bought out from Minnesota before? Oh no, they traded.
No. He got traded from Phoenix. Remember, D'Antoni didn't like him for whatever reason. He didn't like Marbury for whatever reason.
That's right.
And traded him from Phoenix because Marbury could have stayed in Phoenix and 8 with Stoudemire, but Steve Nash would have probably never been the league MVP if Marbury was still there.
Yo, can we just for a second visit how substantial you have to despise a person to make a trade like that? You talking about the Phoenix Suns?
Mm-hmm.
Niggas don't want to play no defense. Then Tony don't care. Steph at the point, Hugh Rich at the 2, Stott at the 4. The Matrix at the 3.
Marion, yep.
Joe Johnson before they moved him to Atlanta off the bench.
Yep.
Yo, dude, that's an armory.
And who was their center?
Does it even matter?
Yeah, I don't understand why he despised them that much to do that, man. And then when he came to New York, I just knew that it was no good for him.
Nash was there, right?
Huh?
Nash was there, right?
Yes. Nash was
that's the problem.
Was he in Phoenix already, or that was when they got him in Dallas?
He couldn't see. They can't play together, and they both are like starters that play a lot of minutes. So he just got rid of Marbury because he probably saw what Nash was going to do, and that wound up being MVP, and him and Stoudemire wound up gelling together really well.
That's a
and
fact.
Then you got to remember, Marbury was a head case. He knew how to play, but he was a head case.
We can definitely debate on that. We can debate.
He was for a fact.
Yeah, he was a head case still.
But but y'all know why though? He had no real help. I'm
not talking about from one situation. I'm going on when he went from one team to even on Minnesota. That's just how he was.
All right, and this is my thing. I always argue this point. That Minnesota situation, you got to understand. And I don't even think that it was a jealousy thing because him and KG was always cool, even back in high school.
Yeah.
I think that you got to understand, you coming from New York City. You know this, Will. You play ball. You coming from New York City, a big city, a lot of things to do. You go to school, you go to Georgia Tech to school, another city that's popping, and then you end up in Minnesota. You get homesick, you young. You know what I mean? You miss your family, you miss your friends. It's nothing to do. He's used to playing in Rucker. He's used to people following him around with cameras all day. To Minnesota, I just think that he wasn't mature enough to as a professional at that time when he was in Minnesota, and he just wanted to get out of there. He wanted to come home. And then what was the first place they sent him? They was like, "Oh, okay, you want to go home? Well, we're gonna send you over to the Nets." And at that time, the Nets was terrible. Jason Williams, who else? Lucius Harris,
Keith Van Horn, I think, was on that.
Keith Van Horn. Like they had a terrible team. That team was terrible. So he had to make the best. Yeah, exactly. So he had to do the best. He had to make, lemonade out of oranges. You know what I'm saying? So it just didn't work. And then when they traded him to Phoenix, he started to get right. And then they had a young Stoudemire, like Mike said, they had a Joe Johnson, they had the Matrix, they had Q Richardson, they had a nice crew. And I think that he was really starting to get it at that time because at that time he still was a 20 and 10 guy. He was averaging 20 points, 10 assists consistently.
Throwing lobs from the hash.
For real.
Throwing lobs.
And he hit one of the biggest shots in franchise history for the Phoenix Suns against the Spurs in the playoffs. You know what I mean? And then they ended up just doing him dirty, sent him to New York. Then he came home, and then it just fell apart in New York. Like, fans get on him, but people fail to realize, like, yo, his father died in the stands watching his son play for a team that his son grew up loving and wanting to play for.
I know some of the crew that took his dad out of there.
Really? Wow, man. That's crazy,
Took him to
man.
St. Vincent's.
St. Vincent's Hospital. Wow. Yeah, man. So a lot of people give Marbury a bad rap, man, and don't really look at the whole story of what he went through when he was here. You know what I mean? Isaiah Thomas dragged him into that situation with Anuka Brown Sanders. You know what I mean? He went to court. He told the truth, and he got crucified for it. And then they just ran him out of town after that, man. You know what I mean? And it just never been the same for him ever since. But then he went to China.
Vaseline and all that.
See? But then that's when the mental part comes. See, I ain't even gonna laugh
rubbing
at
him
that.
on his back.
Oh God, man, y'all are
terrible.
Terrible. You can't say some of it. Our job is to make sure we say it all.
Yeah.
You ain't have to say it, brother. We gonna do the job. Me and my man gonna tell it like it is. He right here. You see his voice is a little deeper than mine, but
hey, he over there take the shoulder
let me tell you, when I was in, let me tell you, Stills, one person I respect is Marbury, because look, when I played CYO, right?
Yeah,
we was undefeated. We was beating everything. So my pops came to me. He was like, "Yo, you playing the kid that's on Sports Illustrated, right?"
Yeah.
I'm like, who you talking about? I didn't even know who this kid was. Yo, Stills, I tell you no lie, bro. Son was pulling up 2 or 3 steps from half court on us, bro. And I never seen nobody do that in my life. After that game, bro, I was like, nah, I think I'm nice. And I was scoring 40 with easy.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I probably had like 10 that game. Yo, that boy was shooting from the half court. Yeah. I knew he was going pro. Yeah, so to me, Marbury is one of the best to ever do it.
In New York City.
League-wise. Yeah, league to me as a guard. Top, like he did in the All-Star game with Iverson. You know what I'm saying? Top guard from New York. I tip my hat to Marbury, man, for real.
Yo, let me slide off topic just a sec.
Yeah, we got 4 minutes. Go ahead.
From everybody on the panel here,
let's go.
Who is the best you have ever sat and seen in person?
Best that I've ever seen in person.
That's a good one.
The best that I've seen in person. I never saw MJ in person. LeBron. I saw LeBron in person in Cleveland in 2008.
I saw Kobe play. I saw Kobe play in 2010 at the Garden.
I'm gonna say I saw Kyrie play in person. That's the best I ever seen play in person.
Wow.
Yeah, I took my baby mom. She loved Kobe on a Christmas gift. It was the week of Christmas. And I seen Kobe play at the Garden.
Shout out to Remy. Word up. For real. And what about you, Mike? You ain't say.
It's gonna be Bernard King.
Bernard King.
Bernard King.
Wow. Probably the greatest small forward that the Knicks have ever had.
Well, you know what? Depending on who you talk to, there's a lot of OGs in the league that'll tell you that's their assessment too. But for me to have sat somewhere and watched somebody play in person, it's Bernard King.
Wow.
Probably followed by Kenny Anderson.
Shout out to KA. Kenny Anderson was a problem too. Other than that, I played with Skip. I played against Skip. You know what I'm saying? He was definitely one of the best that I've seen in the streets, probably. You know what I mean?
The best I ever seen in the street is tied. It's between Lloyd Daniels. I'm not sure if he was high or not. You know, Lloyd had issues.
Yeah, that's a fact.
I saw Lloyd the other day out here.
Wow.
Where I took a picture
Lloyd and
Ali Mo. Rest in peace to Ali Mo, man. Rest in peace to Ali Mo, man. For real. And Jamal Tinsley was tough too in the streets. I seen him give Stephon Marbury the business. Bad Boy versus Terror Squad. I'll never forget that game in the Rucker. For real. Yeah, Mel the Abuser. That's what they called him up there, man. So, fellas, man, we reached the end of another good show, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to try to catch the tail end of this Monday night game. You know what I mean? Shout out to Mike Ray, always checking in, giving us some great insight. Shout out to Hardwill. Shout out to Jay Remy. Shout out to everybody that tuned in on the station. Shout out to everybody that tuned in on YouTube. And shout out to everybody that tuned in on Facebook. Until next week, Stills the Great, Hardwill, Jay Remy, Mike Ray. We are signing off. Until next week.
We out of here.
New York City. We back. The Big Apple. NY. The Knicks are back. Staten Mellow. This dedicated to my city, New York. Official kings in the court. Reach for the ball, a hard lesson gets taught. So bring your skills to the nearest playground. No clown around. Catch a helmet in the minute on the New York playground. The Big Apple's what they call it for short. And basketball is our sport. We play for keeps and never settle for sure. So bring your game when you come to my town. We snatch a crowd. You get embarrassed on the court after you shook to the ground. You get respected when you prove you get down. So say the joke for the clowns. And NYC, we known to go a few rounds. This is the city where you're forced to go hard. You'll get booed out of Dodge and shown the door being the weakest on squads. Rucker Park and summer nights, they stay live. Brothers play for the pride and bragging rights on who's the king of NY. So grab the pill and prepare to go hard. Pick your 12-man squad. Orange and blue better believe we go hard. This for my city, New York, New York City where it's gritty. Yeah. For my city, never pretty. New York City, sing it with me. Yeah. For my city, New York City where it's gritty. NYC, for my city, never pretty. Yeah. New York City, sing it with me.